Honey, can you think of a more exciting...
Perfect. Hey everybody, how you guys doing? Good to see everybody. You guys all look very, very dapper. For those of us joining us live or watching this after it goes live, we appreciate you for joining us. You know, from time to time, we always love, hopping on a live, recapping significant milestones and events that take place within the fintech ecosystem. And today was no different. PAPSS COWRY, the inaugural event, happened today. So we're joined with Noel Adja from PAPPS, Head of Partnerships, Foster from AFTS, Zacharias, and myself. And so, yeah, it was a very eventful day with PAPPS, and we saw some amazing visuals. Actually, I'll share my just what we saw from.
BJ, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I got muted. Yeah. So maybe Noel, you could tell us a little bit about the theme. It was such amazing visuals. The theme was amazing. The Cowrie theme and how you integrated such amazing storytelling. You even told us, you even read a poem that you wrote. Did you write it yourself or did you have writers? You got to give us the inside scoop. So yeah, tell us from your angle, from an organizer, how you thought it went and a little bit about the event. Let me make sure I think you're on mute. Let me unmute your mic. Yes. Are you maybe?
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So that's clear, right? Perfect. So thank you very much for the question, and then thank you as well for appreciating the poem. I actually wrote it myself, right?
Okay.
Thank
Wow.
you. So today was a great day for. Oh, thank you. Today was a great day for PAPPS. So we had the first PAPSS COWRY event that was actually launched in here, Lagos. And then we decided to come to Lagos because, of course, we have representation quite in a few other places. I mean, several other places in the continent. So as of today, PAPPS has now representation in 19 countries. It is, I would say, over 50% of the currencies that we have in Africa, right? So PAPPS is growing. We started back in 1Z with 6 central banks, and that was back in 2021. So now we have 19 central banks. So we came up with that idea of launching the PAPSS COWRY so that we can acknowledge everyone that has been, contributing to the growth. And we also want to give voice, say, in the payment industry across the world. So today we were actually joined with key stakeholders of the payment ecosystem in Africa and also outside Africa. So we had, for example, the AU that was represented, the AFCFTA. We have the Secretariat, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, that was there as well. We had African Bank, as I said, we had the CEO of PAPPS as well, and several stakeholders, banks, fintechs, central banks. So everyone was represented today so that we can, be in the same room, have proper discussions in terms of how we see payment today and what is it that we believe payment needs to look like in the future. Not just inheriting anything from outside Africa, but also bringing in our own inputs. So in a nutshell, yes, that's what we did today. And then I can also speak to the awards that we are planning to launch next year. So start to recognize, our partners and our participants, right? We want to empower them. We want to equip them with the necessary tools for them to further contribute to the development of our continent, right? And then, for example, some of the awardees will be able to carry in of the AU so that they can further continue what they've started doing in terms of providing input toward the development of our continent. So
That's really amazing. Thank you for sharing that insight. Zacharias, I mean, you're out in Lagos right now. You left Foster and I behind in DC, the cold weather. But so tell us from a attendee perspective as a stakeholder in the fintech ecosystem, how was it from an attendee perspective?
Yeah, it was fantastic to say the least. We organize FinTech Summit twice a year, once in Washington, D.C., in one African country every year. You're all the integral part of that organization. So you know what it takes to organize a summit. And you saw the videos, the visuals, the speaking, the session, the content, and the poem, and the introduction, the music. It was not just music. It was a poetry in itself. And actually, I was speaking, who did actually write the script, who wrote the script? Because yes, it is an African culture, an African content, but it was all payment focused. So it was really fantastic. It was a show, a masterpiece. So very, very much happy to see that. And we had the right partners in the room. So this initiative is actually an African initiative. So it has been endorsed by heads of state. So we have the AFREX teams that provide the support. We have the Continental Free Trade Agreement Secretariat, His Excellency Wam Kalimani was there, assuring PAPPS and the ecosystem actually they would be doing the regulatory and policy making space support wherever it is needed. AFREX team is providing the banking support. And 2022, if you remember, when we started, when we had our summit, Mike was our keynote speaker. At the time, PAPPS was starting, and the vision was three-layered approach, right? So we start with central banks, followed by commercial bank, and then we'll come to fintechs. And it's very much impressive that in the last, 4 plus years, now we have 19 coming to 20 central banks. But more impressive is that 160 commercial banks onboarded. And now we have 5 fintechs, which are official members of the PAPPS network. That is a huge progress, and being able to see that, I was privileged to moderate a panel with 5 fintech founders and operators during the summit to see the partnership possibility with PAPPS and then also with other fintechs. I had the privilege of having a fireside chat with GB, who is the founder of and CEO of Flutterwave. So from the content point of view, was really fantastic. We have the right people in the room. We have the switch, we have the central banks, we had fintechs. As I highlighted during the end of the panel session, next year when we come back for the fintech, the PAPPS COWRY second meeting, I would like to see that number of fintech from 5 increasing significantly, and we want to see that collaboration between fintechs and PAPPS, because PAPPS has already the rail across 54 countries. So we have 48 signed members. So for any fintech, you have already the regulatory, the policy space, the sandbox arrangement for users, and easier. In our editorial last year, what we said that fintechs that are using the rail of PAPPS will be like the silver bullet trains in Japan. And today, actually, Ike, who is the country manager for Ghana, for ONAFRIC, he used another terminology. It's like if you're in London, you understand that there is a fast bus lane, so only approved buses will go on that route. So it says that fintechs using PAPPS are on that dedicated bus lane. So that is what I'm looking forward to in the coming months and years.
Very nice, very nice. Foster, you have some comments or questions to pick?
I think to piggyback on what has been discussed, and maybe to kudos to PAPPS for being innovative in designing a conversation. While it is an acronym that means Conference on Worldwide and Regional Payments, it also represents a symbolic element in African history. And for those who are listening and don't know what a cowrie represents in Africa, once upon a time, it was a unified currency used and accepted as a medium of exchange in Africa. And today, if PAPPS, which has now been reestablished in this new era, to serve the purpose of reunifying Africa through trade and creating a medium of easing out or defragmenting payments in Africa by leveraging this particular symbolic instrument, I think is very innovative. And for me, beyond just the event, beyond the platform it's created, is an opportunity to revisit history of Africa from a financial evolution standpoint, and to be able to amplify what that means in terms of our Africa financial identity. Now, to Noel, you've been leading the charge of partnerships and memberships, and from outside, people always treat Africa as a monolith, but within, you realize how uniquely different every single country is in its structure and operations, and even within the trade blocks, more complication around surrounding their operations. And the biggest challenge statement every fintech innovator is solving for is the fragmentation of payments in Africa. How have you navigated unpacking the challenges surrounding unifying? Because I don't think it's necessarily a systems problem, but more around a people priority and policy problem. So how have you navigated meeting these milestones? 160 plus commercial banks, 19 countries, 5 fintechs, 15 switches, all playing and participating in this. It's still very nascent stages of your operations since 2018, since you launched.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very good question. So let me just go back first of all to what you mentioned in terms of the cowrie as a symbol. So the cowrie is actually it's a great symbol for us because we believe that we need to go back to the source. It's very important. Let me just tell you quickly a story. I went to Tanzania, I think that was last week, and then surprisingly, the guys in Tanzania that we met, they welcomed me by using the word. They said "Jambo Jambo," and I told them we also see Jambo Jambo in West Africa. In Cote d'Ivoire, there's a tribe saying the same thing there in Cote d'Ivoire. When I was in Zambia, they have a food that they call ishimwa. And when you go to Zimbabwe, they call the same food sadza. If you go to South Africa, it's called pap. If you go to some other places of the country, they have the same food. We are integrated as a community. We are. But the issue that we have today is that we are not integrated in terms of payment. And it has been established that if we Africans were able to transact seamlessly between ourselves, it will definitely have an impact on the GDP per capita. It will have an impact on the jobs that are created on the continent. So tens of millions of jobs will be created in Africa. And then that will have a direct impact on everyone's life. So it is key for us to go back to that source. So that's why we want to have that cowrie as a symbol for us. Now, going back to your question on how are we navigating challenges. PAPPS is there to adjust to the needs of the different countries where we are planning or where we want to be incorporated. The aim of PAPPS is to be everywhere in Africa. We have 54 countries. We have to be everywhere. And then if we need to be everywhere, we need to be able to have that knowledge. We need to be conscious of the fact that African economies are operating differently, right? When we initially launched PAPPS, we came up with a settlement model that was central bank centric. whereby the central bank had to provide, the funds to settle for the payment initiated by the banks and by the other participants. We understood that there was a challenge, and inside that challenge, we saw an opportunity to enable banks to even participate more. So we said, you know what, let's get even the banks participating in that, settlement as well. So today, the banks are participating in the settlement as well. And then we also came up with some other product. Initially, it was the instant payment system, just enabling, cross-border payments instantly. We say 120 seconds maximum. We came up with another product to help, corporate reinsurance companies, airlines that have their funds blocked in some regions of the continent, so they can repatriate easily the funds using our second product, which is the PAPPS African Currency Marketplace. So we've been able to navigate. So for us, PAPPS is not just a product. PAPPS is there to empower cross-border payments on the continent, and we are ready to adjust whatever we're doing to our people's realities. So I hope I was able to respond to your question.
No, absolutely. Just to follow up on that, partnerships in terms of accelerating it, what do you think needs to be unlocked, and who or which stakeholders will play a critical role in unlocking that pathway for your job to be much easier in bringing on board as many countries and as many institutions as possible together?
Thank you very much. So you see, I said to one of our clients that PAPPS is not another project. PAPPS is a project to be owned by everyone. So the aim or the intention is not to force anyone in terms of adoption. We have several payment systems on the continent, that were implemented by the regulators, that were implemented by the executive, and then they were never used. So what we want to achieve, we want to move fast, but we want to move in the right way. We want our participant to adopt the system. And for participant to adopt the system, you need to bring to the table what they need. So what we need to do is always listen out to what the guys on the ground need and bring the solution. We could work with the ASCFTA, we could work with the executive to have PAPPS enforced in all countries, and that would definitely enable us to move fast. And then we can have all countries even before the end of this year. But that's not the aim. The aim is to ensure that we have adoption. And for us to have adoption, we need to be able to adjust to the reality. So what can we do to adjust to that reality? Is to continue the engagement that we are having today with the central banks in all those countries, and we're doing so at the moment at the regional level, individually as well, is to continue discussions that we have today with the switches in all those countries to facilitate payment. Because what PAPPS is doing now, even if banks in a particular country are not able to initiate payment, we have an ability to connect directly to the switch so that that bank, which is not a participant in PAPPS, can still receive. So this is also fast tracking adoption, and that's what we're doing. So we want to be able to move fast, but in the right way.
Least line of resistance. Least line of resistance. I think thank you very much, Noah. And that's a very great perspective. And working in the domain of partnerships and government relations, I fully appreciate the strategic approach you are using to navigate the gray when it comes to least line of resistance, to being able to still move the needle and achieve the goal of uniting people. There's always late adopters and early adopters, and the late adopters want to see how the early adopters are operating to give them the confidence to participate. I'll quickly move on to Zach. The Africa FinTech Summit has been around for a while, hosted 14 editions of its summits in DC and Africa, helping create the narrative, helping paint a picture of the opportunity within Africa, the opportunity innovators are working within, and more importantly, the potential of the continent. Key to these conversations is storytelling and narratives. And talking about what PAPPS has been able to achieve in our representation at the summit today, what's the advantage Africa has today, and the platform like Cowry having to shape the conversation around Africa's financial sovereignty? And what role do you see AFTS playing in accelerating the adoption of fintechs, banks, and regulators, and more importantly, showcasing initiatives like PAPPS?
Absolutely. One thing that stood out for me and what the fantastic job the PAPPS team have done is that, storytelling, and then, telling the world what PAPPS can do is one thing, but showcasing it with the actual results and experience of early adopters is another thing. And that is what the fantastic job has been for me. So complementing what Noel has said, yes, it was a payment platform, right, when PAPPS started. But as has been highlighted, now we have upcoming 4 existing and upcoming products. So we have the PAPPS Railwork, and then now we have PAPPS Card. So people have now a PAPPS Card. Yeah. That is the second product. And now we also realized actually Forex is a big issue. So PAPPS has come up with the currency market. And at pilot stage, that currency market had a 900% request, and post adoption it has a 650% increase. So it shows you that there's a huge need for African countries and corporate and treasurers being able to transact their money at affordable rate instantly without their funds blocked by various countries that they're operating in. PAPPS has resolved that. And the most fascinating announcement that I was personally very passionate, and I'm sure you are, is that at FTS we've been amplifying this is the year of stable coin, right? So we've been telling, yes, the world is waking up and coming up to stable coin, but Africa has been using stable coin. PAPPS has now announced it today, actually, the stable coin rail is coming. They are working on an African stable coin. That is a huge step for me. And so from 2 points of view, one, with a stable coin, there is a dollarization risk, right? So the very sense of PAPPS is for Africa to trade with itself without avoiding a third currency. So that African stable coin will be backed by African resources, African fiat, or whatever natural resources that will be backed. That is for the implementers and policymakers. But it's a bold statement. Yes, PAPPS, a payment rail, currency marketplace, PAPPS card, and very soon an African stablecoin is coming. So that is a story that we've been amplifying for and wanting to hear for years, and now we see that, and then we will continue to showcase those success stories. And secondly, what PAPPS have done is that actually one of the first sessions this morning is that they brought early adopters, the central banks, the Swiss, on Africa, and the banks, and we have UBA, we have KCB, we have on Africa. And when you sit down, listen from them, and one thing just to highlight, they say that actually cost of transaction has gone down by 99%. That is a shocking reality, right? For a bank to say, I have cut my transaction cost by 99%.
99%.
Just imagine impact in bottom line. We've also seen the corporate. So we have a case example of Kenyan Airways that used actually the currency marketplace of PAPPS and then easily transferring funds across market. As you know, the biggest problem of airlines in Africa is getting their funds released from various countries. That is being resolved. Listening to those use cases is something we'll continue to amplify. That when we say PAPPS is resolving African problem, is not theory, is a reality, actually is told by users themselves. So that is one thing that we'll continue to amplify. At FTS, we've been amplifying what PAPPS is doing. We had Mike and Bosco as our keynote speakers since 2020. As you know, we had Mike as a fireside chat speaker last month in Accra. And I'm here moderating sessions for PAPPS. So from now on, we'll be seeing actually more fintechs. The central banks are coming. The commercial banks are already there. We have 160. From FTS ecosystem point of view, we want to showcase the fintechs, the benefit of working closely in partnership with PAPPS. And that is evidenced by practical benefits to everyone in the ecosystem, because without partnership, the continent cannot trade with itself. PAPPS is ready for partnership. Fintechs have already started that. Let's accelerate it. That's what we'll be working on.
Fantastic. So there's a very, very, very old saying. It says, until the lion has his own storyteller. The hunter will always have the best part of the story. PAPPS is telling its story. It needs a vehicle. There are several other indigenous stories as such on disruptions in Africa. The Africa FinTech Summit 2026 Spring Edition is loading in DC. Tell us what to expect, what innovators, investors, stakeholders, interested parties who are listening to today's conversation should expect in this conversation, and why should Noel convince his team and organization to be in DC in 2026 to continue telling the story of PAPPS and its success. And because today Africa cannot exist as an island, even though it's trying to solve fragmentation in payments within Africa, cannot exist in isolation of the rest of the world, because we have to trade within our borders and across the continent as well. So tell us what to expect in DC, and what is the story, what's going to happen next year, and why should we look out for it?
Sure, absolutely. So actually, we are announcing the 2026 date and location here in Lagos on the PAPPS Day 2 tomorrow. So our 2026 summit will be on the sideline of the World Bank Spring Meeting on April 15, as we've been doing it for the last 7 years. And I know PAPPS also will be joining us. I know that something is cooking up there as well. And for the Africa leg of the summit, we'll be going to Kigali, Rwanda on November 18 and 19. So that is the two big announcements we're making. And it's quite interestingly, throughout today, Noel has heard this. Most of the challenge our fintech partners are, including PAPPS, are constantly telling us the fragmentation of the continent and payment ecosystem, and regulation. And there was a reason we chose Ghana, Accra this year for our fintech summit, because of their innovation in regulation. They have launched the fintech license passporting with Rwanda. So basically what it means, any fintech incorporated in Ghana doesn't need to do that painstaking KYC and registering in Rwanda again. That is automatically going to Rwanda. So next year, we'll be going to Rwanda, say, hey, you have this fintech license passporting with Ghana. This is one thing we will amplifying. We want to see across the markets. So that is what we'll be focusing on: fintech license passporting, regulatory and policy making space adjustment, so that regulation can go in hand, not necessarily ahead, but also not lagging behind, so that's supporting innovation. And PAPPS comes to play because PAPPS is already it has a political and head of government in the African Union, and the FCFTA Secretariat and the AFREXIM backing and support. So any fintech working with PAPPS is automatically going across 54 markets. Just think of it as fintech license passporting from a central bank point of view. When you work with PAPPS, you're actually going into 54 countries. So rail passporting, you can call it a kind of a fintech rail passporting across markets. So we'll be talking and amplifying what this opportunity is for fintechs working with PAPPS, and any announcement, any new initiatives PAPPS will have, including the upcoming stable coin, will be amplifying it. So we're going to have PAPPS coming back and join us at our summits, as we've been doing for the last 4 years. And finally, I think Noel can mention two things. We had two announcements, partnership announcement made. I want Noel to touch it. And then also you heard that poetic announcement of the PAPPS COWRY Award that Noel made. There are several categories. So we'll be also amplifying that. FTS as an early amplifier of FTA, PAPPS. I'm assuming that, we are automatic recipient, one of the categories, probably before Noel. So maybe Noel, you can touch the agreement partnership signed and what it means, especially from the branded card and also the digital identity point of view, because this is huge for the fintech ecosystem.
Fantastic. Mickey, oh, Noah, please
Sorry,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was
Honestly,
handing over to Noah, Mickey.
yeah. I was just going to. I think adding on to what Zach said, we'll give Noel the closing words. You heard it here first. A lot of announcements, PAPPS, stablecoin rail, the awards, etc. So, we've been teasing your poem this whole time, Noel, and I know we might have to just wait for the video to come out or for it to be released. If you want, you can recite the poem. If not, we will wait for the video to drop. But we'll give the closing words to you, and you can just summarize, any thoughts and give any closing remarks, and we can end it here. But give the people what they want, though. They want to hear the poem. I mean, we've been teaching it the whole time, but we can also just post the video later once it's released. So whatever works for you.
I mean, I can definitely do the poem. I have the text in my phone.
Okay, perfect.
It's a 3-minute poem though, so I don't know how long the.
We have the time.
Give your points and then close.
Okay, I'll do it. So I'll speak about first of all, I'll speak about what happened today in terms of signing of partnerships. So we have 2 partnerships signed on the stage. So we have one partnership between PAPPS and SimFix, and then we have another partnership with PAPPS and PayAttitude. I'll further develop the partnership with PAPPS and PayAttitude because I know that the partnership with PAPPS and SimFix, a lot is coming up out of it, and then the team will be able to do more announcement on that. So for PayAttitude, PAPPS is actually coming up with a PAPPS card, right? So in countries in Africa where you have a local currency scheme card, you are not able to use your card abroad. So which means that if I have a local currency card in Cote d'Ivoire, if I go to Ghana, I'm not able to use it in Ghana, right? So what PAPPS is doing, PAPPS is enable anyone and everyone on the continent to ride on PAPPS so that you can withdraw with your bank card when you travel from one country to the other one. In countries where there's not a national switch, PAPPS will also come in and play that role of interoperability between the banks in that country, right? So this is what PAPPS is doing as of today, and there will be further development on that as well. So what it does, it enables, the users of the card to have, reduced costs as well when it comes to, payments, right? Because as of today, when you use your card, the settlement is still done outside Africa. But what will happen with the PAPPS card, the settlement will be done within Africa with the banks that PAPPS is working with. So that cuts the cost, right? 99% in terms of cost. That cuts as well the conversion issues that we have today. And then obviously everything is done instantly. So this is what I can say when it comes to the PAPPS card. The launch has been done, and then there will be more announcement as well very soon on the PAPPS card. So I don't know if you want me to dive into.
What we'll do is we'll just, because your poem is so impactful because you talked about rolling out the red carpet for those who have paved the way, and now PAPPS is paving the way for the next generation, right? So just recite the poem. I know it's 3-minute poem, but we're more than happy to hear it. And then we'll close it out. Thank you everybody for joining. And Noel will just close us out with the poem that he dropped at the event today. And yeah.
Thank you very much, guys. So let me do it. So good afternoon to you all. Let me stand on the established protocol and dive directly into what brings us to this call. Each of you may wonder if I'm here to pitch, I'm here to teach, or I'm here to preach. I do have a speech that addresses the glitch in our story, a story now being bleached by the PAPPS COWRY. So let's keep the flowery lines and get straight away to the point on the path of glory. Single market, single payment system. Let's lay down the red carpet for those who stood up against the overpayment system. got off the bed so that our people can rest. Cut off the necklace that kept us away from what is seamless. From southern to northern, eastern to the west, let us acknowledge those who took action to change the scene set, who opened the ears and listened before another sunset to the voice of our forefathers that has resonated louder than a rock star, more than a rocket that exploded in the sky and left us with a star. Yes, our own star, who brought bright light to our night and gave us the chance for a new start. Let's acknowledge after the ESCFTA, which has played a huge part in this tournament to integrate our continent Africa. Led by our own Pele, the well-known His Excellency Wamkele Mene. Thanks for working hand in hand with Afrexim Bank to pour water in the empty tank of Mama Africa, who found a mama in the arms of a man. Let's acknowledge Professor Benedict Orama for driving the agenda that gave us an instrument to depart from past times when transacting among ourselves used to last like a lifetime, forcing our traders into fasting time, waiting for the money that never moved fast, but instead took its time to hit the bank account after the blast, of processes involving intermediaries acting for the interests of another caste. Listening to our traders' stories, we could clearly hear Mayday, Mayday, an SOS from our people who looked forward to the day we could say, we made it. Because simple as an SMS, money cannot be sent from one country to another. No daily headaches, no missing payday, no middleman midway. Let me give you an update. Today, we can all rejoice we have PAPSS for instant cross-border payments within Africa. That's your PAPSS. Let's all rejoice like our Muslim brothers after the fast, like our Christian brothers during the Mass. Ladies and gentlemen, a standing ovation for PAPSS and his two gurus, Mr. John Bosco Sebabi and Mr. Mike Obalu.
Well, you heard it here first. It was live, and now you heard it here. Thank you for joining us, Noel. Thank you for joining the AFTS home crew. We're going to sign off now. Thank you for everyone who joined virtually and for those who are watching the recap. And on that note, there's nothing more to say besides thank you. And thank you for that wonderful poem and reciting it for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you
Super.
very much.
Yes, Noel.
We have more roundtable and sessions. So Noel is not going to rest. There is no rest for the wicked ones. We have quite a few coming up.
The job is the job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Good day, guys.